Howdy y'all, Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was just riding around past Zombie Cleo's where there's a lot of work getting done on that ruin that isn't quite wrecked yet. But more importantly, I wanted to show you what Ren is working on, which is a road system connected to his magical area there that unfortunately does not quite align with our bridge. So maybe Ren will shift his road over. Maybe we'll have to move the bridge. But, you know, you would probably think, Joe, you don't want to start a fight with a guy who makes magic systems for a living. Well, remember how I told y'all that Brandon Sanderson said Stormlight could never be adapted for television way back at the beginning of the season? Well, he's adapting some of the Cosmere stuff for television, starting with Mistborn. He just announced he's going to be working with Apple on that. Which, you know, honestly, considering how Apple has adopted Silo and adapted, what's that other one, Foundation, two books that would be pretty hard to convert into a TV series, I'm cautiously optimistic. It also sounds like Sanderson got a deal kind of comparable to the one the Expanse guys got, James S.A. Corey et al. And, it looks like when we were doing our fire suppression system thing here, that one of the kelp got a little bit aspirational during the test and has now created source blocks all the way up there. If only we had a bucket on us. Oh wait, that's right. Isuma has taught us well. Can you remove... No. I was going to say, can you remove water from a kelp source block? No. You got to destroy the kelp first. But that's okay. There it goes. Look at that. Well, you know, I might not be able to create all the magic systems like Rendog or Brandon Sanderson, but I can still control the elements with a bucket. And, you know, we've got a lot of work to do. I guess we could go all the way through the queue as I explain it. For our Alethi Development bad television series pitch. I mentioned that that was one of the reasons we were building all this in the studio here, was to have a place to plan and build sets and get that underway. I gave y'all a sneak peek of some of the music from Vin Shoken. Later this episode, I'm going to show y'all some of the art that is going to be used in the animatic from Matt Wilson. Super excited about that. But first, we got to figure out what we got to get done. Now, we don't have a room set aside yet for segment production. But I'm thinking, this facility office, no. Segment production. Whatever. That sign's in the way anyway. Core concept, let's go ahead and build a place that we can start planning this out, because there is so much to do on the Alethi Development project, and if we don't start doing it, it won't get done. I was going to put a bed down here or two, so that I could sleep, but it looks like Jevin has already got my back on that. No, it was Tango. Thanks, Tango. Great job. I'm sure he's doing other stuff besides just resting, but everything he does well. So we appreciate him. Now, this couch looks okay, but it's not getting me in an Alethi Development mood. So let's go ahead and throw some gemstones on here. There's... Oh, wait, hold on. Because you can only put one stack at a time into a couch in Minecraft, we've gone ahead and stripped this down a little bit. Boom. Look at that. Now we got some gemstones embedded in there. It looks like I'm super rich now. But we can do better. More gemstones. There we go. That's plenty of gemstones. Now we're really talking. Now we're really talking. But you know what else we need to do with this space? Look at this ceiling. For one thing, it's got a hole in it. A hole in the ceiling might seem helpful for flying around, but I don't have an elytra yet. And even if I did, we've got this whole balcony out here. We don't need a big ceiling hole for that. We can maybe come back in with a little bit of bone blocks as well and clean up that ceiling. But before we do, let's figure out where the desks need to go. Yes, that's right, desks. We need a receptionist desk out here to stop anybody from just coming in and bugging me. That is looking like a desk. We could have reception here so that nobody's interrupting the segment production. There we go, getting started on that. we need to actually have places to write down notes and plan. So let's move all of this stuff out of the way. We're going to move some of these tools out to the reception area for right now. We don't need to have... Whoops. We don't need to have an ender chest right there. Good thing I've got more in my bundle. Oh, look at that, Asuma. It's like I actually know what's going on, even though I'm very apparently terrible at every part of this. I almost just broke that again. But that's fine. We didn't break it again. Now, we've got some room here to put in a few lecterns that we can put signs over top of. An overall plan for this. Right now, that's empty. That's not great. How are we going to get a segment produced about a bad TV show bit if we don't have an overall plan? We're also going to need to keep track of all the assets, like the artwork and the music. That can go in this one. We need to build sets. Set design. Boom. That's going there. And then this one. I actually only was going to have 3, but then I got ambitious. Other ideas that may be out of scope. This is our overflow. Overflow. This feels like a reasonable start. We've slid that ender chest back against the wall here, but it still doesn't feel too Alethi in here. So here's what I was thinking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get 5 armor stands. Then, with our open hand, we can click on that and hit show arms. Yes. And then we can hand him 1 spear, have him swap that to the other hand, hand another spear, and now I think we want to set the pose to something where the arms are up. Yeah, that might work. Hey, that's looking pretty good. Now, that's a little bit awkward, but it works. Then we just copy that pose, and we're going to paste it over here, and over here, and over here, and over here. And then we can start handing out spears like candy, and then we'll go through and swap those to the other hands. Mirror arms, nope. Nope, swap main and offhand. There it is. So now we have distributed 10 spears. That feels about right. 10 is a very important number to the Alethi. But we need to build maybe a proper spear rack to kind of mount them in here. And what would that look like? I feel like the spears themselves need to be consolidated over some. So let's go ahead and kind of push this guy a little bit that way. And we're going to push this guy a little bit that way. And we're going to push this guy a little bit this way. And then, how about that one can just swing in over here like so. Hey, look at that. That is a pretty decent Alethi spear rack, except for the, rack part. It's spears. We made the spears. So we can turn all of these invisible now and lock them. And then we'll never be able to click the other ones. Luckily, there's a thing up here where we can find the list of visible armor stands and modify them, and then turn them invisible. This is looking pretty good. Now, how do we make it look like they're being held by something? Having slid all of the spears that way, we can now place these here. And I'm imagining if we nestle the spears in right up against there, it's going to look like a nice little spear rack. And we can even add little details in the outer edges of the shelves. Like if I wanted to put like an empty map there. Well, that looks terrible. Maybe we'll use those to make a map table of the mesa next. But first, let's try and get this all sorted. So having placed 2 emeralds in here to provide a little bit of decoration and illumination. We're going to go ahead and slide these back -1. Whoops, +1. Is that where we want to be, though? Maybe we want to be 1.2 or 1.3 or 1.5. 5 might be too many. Let's try it, though. Yeah, 1.5 was not enough, in fact. 0.2 more. Yeah, okay. That looks good. And then I think we're going to have to turn gravity off and then do -0.2. Nope, -0.2. -0.3. -0.5. Yeah. And done. Hey, it may not be perfect, but I think it works well enough, especially considering it would probably have some sort of map table here. I was thinking about having a desk with a chair, but I realized that's not really appropriate for this space. Who says an office needs a desk? And unless the, general isn't going to have a desk, he's going to have a map table. And so we have a big old map table here. We just need to go get the maps for it. And so what I was thinking was we take these 16 empty maps, which is more than we need for this. We could extend it to 4x4 if we needed, but hopefully we won't need that. And we can hop on our horse and we can ride over to the mining mesa, because the mining mesa is going to be a location where we might need to build some of our outdoor sets for Alethi Development. So I wanted to go have a set of maps that we could use for scouting those locations. As we enter the nether here, it has become quite clear that you better hold on. Gemini Tay is clearly doing something around here. And hopefully we can still get up to... How are we supposed to get up there? This might be a scaffolding related solution. We might do this without the horse. Time skip. The mesa biome always takes my breath away. I've been running through here, grabbing a bunch of maps, and I think we are ready to head back. But I just wanted to point out one thing I really love about having FireTick off on the server, or on the server, is that, you know, we've just got all these random forest fires over here that it's not like Pearls Online, so I guess if I wanted to help, like if I really wanted to help, I could just, you know, come in here and just start cleaning that up. But, wait, is this all... Did somebody actually make... This is all netherrack. Can fire spread from these to the other stuff? I don't even know. Maybe. Do we have a bucket? Let's just put the lava away. Huh. Dang it, I thought this was actually a really cool forest fire. It's just stupid hellscape that's escaped into the overworld. Stupid dimensional leakage. Never be in a... Well, no, part of that looks like it burned. Ow, my feet. Anyway, I'm going to get back before my toesies get scalded or scorched. Time skip. Looking down at that map table reminded me that a lot of the Stormlight Archive is about taking an overall overhead view of things, which makes me think that it's time to revisit the roof of the theater. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically now that people have Elytra, we want to rip out some of the torches and replace them with lichen. I'm liking how that looks. If you are too, then leave a comment in the comment section below about how you hate the algorithm and how asking people to comment is really just terrible. You know? Maybe this should be the last time I ever do this. This time-lapse is longer than I thought. I'm going to keep spiraling. We should get back to it. And back inside the segment production office, I have augmented some lanterns here with emeralds. There we go. Very Rosharan in style. If you're curious how I did that, I saved the last emerald here for a little bit of on-camera work. We can swap that to the head there. We can set the gravity to off. And then, after we reset so we can actually see where we're working, we can set the scale down to half. Bring that a little bit lower. Bring that... Uh-oh. Don't want to bring that anywhere. zero that out, bring it along that axis there. And once it is just barely intersecting that, we'll bring it down like so. Set that to invisible and lock it. Done. It's not a sophisticated armor stand build. It's just a lantern with some emeralds. But it really pulls things together. Now, the point of this production office is to actually produce the segment. So, you know, it's fine if we want to keep track of the stuff that we've already got or that we're working on, but really, set designs need to be where our attention is going for the rest of this episode. Now, out of everything that we initially need, I think that the King's Floor hallway, where Mr. Zeth actually confronts a few of the palace guards for the first time, is gonna be where we want to put our effort. Now, that hallway is described as having stone floor, stone walls, some torches, some lanterns. I think we could do that. So, let's go ahead and look at the space available to work with for our build. This area here is for producing stuff in front of a live audience, which is great for a talk show or Saturday Night Live style sketches or whatever. But for elaborate pre-taped fight scenes, you would probably use a proper sound stage. Now, we don't have, in air quotes or regular quotes, a proper sound stage. But what we do have is a basement that's already not flooded anymore. So here's what I'm thinking is we'll, you know, kind of leave that area over there where I need to put in the dressing rooms and a bunch of that stuff and start working over here on a hallway that we can use for the Zeth and guards fight scene. So I'm gonna grab a few bits of material and start building. Time skip. Hey Joe, where you going with that spear in your hand? We're heading to the second floor of Kholinar Palace. Look at this, just like in the novel, we've got the hall with what will be statues of the heralds. These 5 will be intact. This one here will be broken once it's done. We've got some doors here that connect with the rest of the undercroft. We're gonna close those using the spear. I don't know if that's actually letting me open them and close them from further away, but it feels pretty direct. Anyway, so we got a couple spear folks here, and we can just go ahead and get them geared up. You know, it's one of those things where these people might not have faces, but, I mean, they're about to get brutally slain by Zeth with a shard blade, so whatever. It's fine. This is supposed to be kind of an animatic type thing anyway. So here's what I was thinking is we're going to have a couple guys here. Maybe slide this one over a bit. Maybe rotate him. You know, arm up a little bit. Guard posty. So yeah, these don't exactly look like real people. They look like armor stands. But that's okay, because Zeth is about to run them through with a shard blade anyway, and animating burnt out eyes is probably easier on stick figures. I don't know, I haven't actually tried that yet. We'll find out in post! But speaking of posts, these guards down here need to stand at theirs as well. So we're going to put a couple more guards down here at the end of the hallway, similarly clad in iron leggings, blue tunics, black boots, and blue caps. This is a real quick and dirty Alethi guard uniform, but whatever works, works, you know? So let's do a quick walkthrough of what I'm going to try to create in Replay Mod. Imagine that Zeth is just walking along here, past the statues of the heralds. We turn so you can see the destroyed statue on the right. We have him, you know, go past the lantern with these 2 guards, start running on the walls and the ceiling while the camera's spinning. These 2 guys are trying to, like, poke up at him. Goes right past him and around the corner. Now, it's not perfect. And for the actual shot that we're ultimately going to want, we're going to probably have to destroy this bridge and continue the hallway some. But for this proof of concept, I think this length of hallway should be sufficient. So let's go ahead and cut to that with the magic of replay mod. But there's Zeth, and now he's going this way, he's going that way. There'd be actually some voiceover here from the narrator, maybe a little music sting with something like Mr. Zeth, that sort of thing. Should be pretty solid once we piece it all together in the final work. But I think the whole way functioned. What do you think? One last thing I wanted to show y'all this episode is that I've constructed a green screen wall separate from the one in the news area that I can use for the closing credits. So let's say that I wanted to put like a little time lapse or something here. You know what? I can give credit to the folks who helped me with this episode. You know, like that Zeth illustration by youtube.com/MattJWilson. That was pretty cool. Also, we got my new producer Badger Spanner credited down there, along with all the other folks that have been helping me behind the scenes for all these years. I'm hoping to have credits every episode, and, you know, that's fun. But one thing that you didn't have to see this episode was a pre-roll ad. That's thanks to Patreon patron Mr. Lance. Thanks, Mr. Lance. This episode was also mid-roll ad-free thanks to Patreon patron Salem. In lieu of that mid-roll ad, I will now present a poetry prompt of my own devising. You can post a response to the poetry prompt in the YouTube comments section below. Be the sign you want to see in the world. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.